Vincent Carver stood at the head of the polished mahogany conference table on the 42nd floor of his Chicago headquarters. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sparkled under the afternoon sun. Inside, 20 people waited for him to sign the contract that would merge his technology company with Sterling Holdings. This deal represented 15 years of hard work, countless sleepless nights, and the fulfillment of every dream he had chased since dropping out of business school to start his first venture in a cramped apartment. Trevor Bennett, his business partner since those early struggling days, sat to his right with an encouraging smile. They had been inseparable friends since college, building Carver Industries from nothing into a billion-dollar empire. Trevor had been there through every victory and every setback. The brother Vincent never had by blood, but chose through loyalty and shared ambition. James Park from Sterling Holdings sat across the table, his expression calm and professional. The terms had been negotiated over 6 months of intense discussions. Everything seemed perfect. Vincent reached for the expensive fountain pen that would seal the biggest business decision of his career. The conference room door opened quietly. A woman in a simple gray uniform pushed a cleaning cart inside. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and she kept her eyes lowered respectfully. "Excuse me, I will just empty the trash quickly," she said softly in a slight accent. Nobody paid attention to her. The executives were too focused on celebrating their upcoming success. Trevor was already talking about the expansion plans they would implement once the merger was finalized. Vincent felt the weight of the moment, the responsibility of making the right choice for his 3,000 employees who depended on his leadership. Rosa Martinez moved around the room with practiced efficiency. She had cleaned these offices for 7 months, invisible to the wealthy executives who worked here. Tonight was different. Tonight she carried a burden heavier than any trash bag. She approached the waste bin next to Vincent's chair, her heart pounding so hard she worried others might hear it. She bent down, pretending to adjust the liner. Then she leaned slightly toward Vincent, bringing her face close to his ear. "Do not sign." "It is a trap," she whispered, barely audible. Vincent froze. The pen slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the table. Time seemed to stop. He turned his head sharply to look at the cleaning woman, but she had already straightened up and was moving away, pushing her cart as if nothing unusual had happened. "Vincent, everything okay?" Trevor asked, noticing his sudden stillness. "Mr. Carver, are you ready to proceed?" James Park leaned forward expectantly. Vincent stared at the unsigned contract. His hand trembled slightly. The woman was already at the door, about to leave. Something in her eyes when she glanced back at him spoke of genuine concern, not madness or malice. "I need 10 minutes, Vincent announced, standing abruptly. The room fell silent. Trevor's smile faded into confusion. James Park frowned deeply. 10 minutes? "Vincent, everyone has cleared their schedules to be here," Trevor said, trying to keep his voice light despite obvious irritation. "I need to handle something urgent," Vincent replied firmly, already moving toward the door. "Mr. Carver, we have other interested parties waiting. The market conditions favor this deal right now, not next week or next month," James Park said sharply. Vincent paused at the door and turned back. 10 minutes. If you cannot wait that long, perhaps this partnership is not as solid as I thought." He walked out before anyone could protest further. The cleaning woman was halfway down the corridor, moving at a steady pace. Vincent caught up to her in a few long strides. "Stop right there," he said firmly. Rosa stopped but did not turn around immediately. She took a deep breath, preparing herself for what came next. "Come with me, now." Vincent gestured toward a small meeting room nearby. They entered the empty room. Vincent closed the door and faced her directly, arms crossed over his chest. "Explain yourself right now. Convince me you are not completely insane for interrupting the most important business deal of my life." Rosa set down her cleaning supplies and met his intense gaze without flinching. "My name is Rosa Martinez. I have worked here for 7 months on the night shift. I know how this sounds, but I overheard conversations between your partner Trevor and a woman named Natalie. They are planning to betray you through this merger." Vincent felt ice flood his veins at the mention of Natalie. Natalie Winters, his former fiancée who had ended their engagement 2 years ago, claiming they wanted different things from life. He had not heard her name spoken aloud in months. What does Natalie have to do with anything? His voice came out rougher than intended. She and Trevor are together now. They have been planning this for months. The contract you are about to sign contains hidden clauses that will transfer majority control of your company to Sterling Holdings. You will lose everything you built. Vincent studied her carefully. Rosa stood straight despite her humble uniform, speaking with unexpected confidence and precision. This was not the rambling of a conspiracy theorist. Her words were measured and specific. Do you have proof of these accusations? Yes. I have photos, recorded conversations, and copies of the real contract documents. The version you reviewed is different from the one that will be filed legally after you sign. Vincent felt the ground shift beneath him. Why should I believe you? You could be working for a competitor trying to sabotage this deal. I understand your doubt, Rosa replied calmly. But if I wanted to sabotage you, I would stay silent and let you sign away your company. I am risking my job, possibly my entire career, to warn you. I have nothing to gain from lying. Who are you, really? Cleaning staff do not usually speak about contract clauses and legal filings. Rosa hesitated, then decided honesty was her only option. I have a degree in business administration from Northwestern University. I worked as a financial analyst at Morrison Consulting for 3 years before circumstances forced me to take this position. I know how to read corporate contracts. I recognized the fraud immediately when I saw the documents. Vincent absorbed this information, his mind racing. A highly educated professional working as a cleaner, risking everything to warn a stranger about betrayal. Something about her desperation felt authentic, real in a way that cut through all his defenses. Meet me tonight at 8. Bring everything you have. If you cannot prove what you claim, you will be fired. If you can prove it... He paused, not wanting to finish that thought. Then we will deal with the consequences together. Rosa nodded solemnly. Thank you for listening. Most people would not have given me even this chance. After she left, Vincent stood alone in the small room, staring at his reflection in the glass wall. His entire world had just tilted on its axis. Trevor, his closest friend for 15 years. Natalie, the woman he had once planned to marry. Could they really have conspired against him so completely? He returned to the conference room where anxious faces waited. I apologize for the interruption, Vincent said smoothly, retaking his seat. After consideration, I believe we should postpone the signing until tomorrow. I want our legal team to review the final documents one more time. Vincent, we spent months on this, Trevor protested, his friendly mask slipping slightly to reveal frustration underneath. One more day will not matter if everything is legitimate, Vincent replied evenly. Watching his partner's reaction carefully, James Park stood abruptly. Mr. Carver, Sterling Holdings has other opportunities. We cannot wait indefinitely while you second-guess yourself. Then perhaps those other opportunities suit you better, Vincent said quietly, surprising himself with his own calm. I will not be rushed into the biggest decision of my career, regardless of external pressure. The meeting ended in tense silence. As everyone filed out, Trevor lingered behind. What is really going on, Vincent? This is not like you. Vincent looked into the eyes of his oldest friend, searching for any hint of deception. Trevor appeared genuinely concerned, confused by the sudden change in plans. Just being thorough, Trevor. You taught me that, remember? Never sign anything without absolute certainty. Trevor nodded slowly, but something in his expression shifted. A calculation behind his eyes that Vincent had never noticed before, or perhaps had chosen not to see. That evening would reveal truths that would shatter everything Vincent believed about loyalty, friendship, and trust. But for now, he simply gathered his belongings and left the office, carrying the weight of doubt for the first time in their long partnership. Vincent spent the afternoon in his penthouse apartment, unable to focus on anything except the approaching evening meeting. He poured himself a glass of whiskey but left it untouched on the counter. His mind kept circling back to Rosa's warning, to the certainty in her voice, to the risk she had taken by speaking up. At 7:30, he drove back to the office building. The lobby was nearly empty, except for the night security guard who nodded respectfully as Vincent passed. He took the elevator to the 15th floor where a small break room overlooked the city lights. Rosa was already there, sitting at a round table with a worn backpack clutched in her lap. She stood when he entered, her posture nervous but determined. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Carver. Call me Vincent, and show me what you have before I change my mind about all of this." Rosa opened her backpack and pulled out her phone. Her hands shook slightly as she scrolled through dozens of photos and audio files. "It started 3 weeks ago. I was cleaning the executive suite late at night when I heard voices coming from the conference room next to Trevor's office. The door was slightly open. She played an audio recording. The quality was poor, muffled by distance and walls, but 2 voices were clearly distinguishable. Vincent recognized them immediately. Trevor and Natalie. "Once he signs tomorrow, we will control 70% of the company assets," Trevor's voice said through the speaker. "Are you certain Vincent suspects nothing?" Natalie asked. "Vincent has always been too trusting. That is his greatest weakness. He believes in loyalty and friendship, all those sentimental ideas that make people blind to reality. What if he discovers the truth before signing? He will not. I have been his partner for 15 years. He trusts me more than he trusts his own instincts. Besides, by the time he realizes what happened, it will be too late to reverse anything." Natalie laughed, a sound that once brought warmth to Vincent's heart, but now felt like shards of glass, just like when I left him. "He never suspected I was already seeing you. He actually believed I wanted different things from life." Vincent closed his eyes, feeling physically sick. The betrayal cut deeper than any business loss could. These were the 2 people he had trusted most completely, loved most deeply, and they had been plotting against him for years. "There is more," Rosa said quietly, giving him a moment to process. She swiped to a series of photographs showing contract documents. "These are photos I took of papers left on Trevor's desk. Look at Section 7, Paragraph 3. Vincent leaned closer, studying the legal language. The clause stated that upon merger completion, operational control would transfer to a joint committee where Sterling Holdings held final decision authority. But this was different from the version he had reviewed with his lawyers. In the contract you saw, this section says you maintain operational control with Sterling as advisory partners only," Rosa explained. "But this version, the one they plan to file legally, strips you of all real authority." She showed him more photos. Bank transfer records showing movement of money from shell companies into Trevor's personal accounts. Emails between Trevor and James Park discussing how to structure the deal to maximize their profit while minimizing Vincent's awareness. Text messages between Trevor and Natalie planning celebration trips to the Mediterranean once everything was finalized. Vincent sat down heavily, the weight of evidence crushing his remaining doubts. "How did you get access to all of this?" "Trevor is careless with his office security. He leaves sensitive documents on his desk, has phone conversations on speaker without checking if anyone is nearby. I think he considers cleaning staff invisible, not worth worrying about." Rosa's voice carried bitter experience. "People often ignore those they consider beneath them." "Why are you doing this?" "You could lose your job, face legal consequences for taking these photos." Rosa was quiet for a long moment, her eyes distant. 2 years ago, I was fired from Morrison Consulting. They claimed I leaked confidential client information to competitors. It was not true. A senior partner had made that mistake, but he blamed me to protect his reputation. Nobody believed my word against his. I lost everything. My career, my savings, fighting legal battles, my reputation in the industry. She met Vincent's gaze directly. "I know what it feels like to be betrayed by people you trusted. To have your life destroyed by lies while everyone around you accepts the false narrative. When I realized what Trevor and Natalie were planning, I could not stay silent. I could not watch another good person be destroyed by people who exploit trust." Vincent felt something shift in his chest. This woman had suffered her own devastating betrayal, yet she was risking what little stability she had rebuilt to help a stranger. "Rosa, when this is over, regardless of how it ends, I want you to know that what you have done takes incredible courage." "I have a younger sister, Carla," Rosa continued softly. "She has lupus. The treatment is expensive. This job provides health insurance that covers most of her medication. If I am fired, I lose that coverage. But I thought about what I would want someone to do if Carla was in your position. I would want someone to speak up, consequences or not. Before Vincent could respond, his phone buzzed. A text message from Trevor appeared on the screen. "Hey, buddy. You seemed stressed earlier. Want to grab dinner and talk? We have been through too much together to let business tension affect our friendship." Vincent stared at the message, at the casual manipulation disguised as concern. Trevor knew exactly how to play on their history, their bond, to keep Vincent compliant and trusting. He typed back a simple response. "Rain check? Working late on some contract reviews. See you tomorrow at the signing. You are still planning to meet them tomorrow?" Rosa asked worriedly. "Yes, but not to sign anything. I need to confront them, hear them try to explain this. Maybe part of me still hopes there is some other explanation." Even as he said it, Vincent knew he was grasping at disappearing hope. "Be careful. Trevor is not the person you think he is. People who betray this completely do not hesitate to destroy anyone who threatens their plans." They spent another hour going through every piece of evidence. Rosa had been thorough, documenting everything with dates, times, and context. She had even created a timeline showing how the conspiracy had developed over months of careful planning. "You should have been a detective," Vincent said with genuine admiration. "I just pay attention to details. Most people do not notice the small inconsistencies that reveal larger truths." Rosa closed her backpack. "What will you do now?" "First, I am sending all this evidence to my personal lawyer tonight. If anything happens to either of us, someone else will know the truth. Second, I am having my IT team pull all email and phone records for Trevor's company accounts. If there is more evidence, I want to find it before tomorrow." "And tomorrow?" "Tomorrow, I see if my friend has any explanation that could possibly justify what I have seen tonight. Though I already know he will not." They left the break room separately for safety. Vincent waited 10 minutes before taking the elevator down, his mind already working through the confrontation ahead. When he reached the lobby, he saw Trevor's car still parked in the executive section. His partner was working late, probably making final preparations for what he thought would be his greatest victory. Vincent drove home through empty streets, feeling like he was seeing the city with new eyes. How many other people were being betrayed right now by those they trusted most? How many Rosa Martinezes existed in the world, punished for speaking truth while the powerful lied without consequence? At midnight, he received an encrypted email from his lawyer confirming receipt of all the evidence. At 2 in the morning, his IT director sent a confidential report showing hundreds of deleted emails between Trevor and James Park that had been recovered from backup servers. The content confirmed everything Rosa had revealed and worse. Trevor had been siphoning money from company accounts for 18 months. Small amounts that would not trigger audits, but totaling nearly $3 million. He had been building a financial cushion for himself while planning to strip Vincent of the company they had built together. Vincent did not sleep that night. He sat in his study watching the sunrise over Lake Michigan, thinking about friendship and betrayal, about the masks people wore and the truth hidden beneath. By the time morning came, his sadness had hardened into cold determination. His phone rang at 8. "Trevor, cheerful and energetic." "Morning, Vincent. Big day today. I am heading to the office early to make sure everything is perfect for the signing. See you at 10? "I will be there," Vincent replied evenly. "Great. And Vincent, I know yesterday was weird, but I want you to know how much our partnership means to me. Whatever happens in business, you are like a brother to me." Vincent ended the call without responding to the sentiment. Those words might have moved him yesterday. Today they were just more manipulation, more lies wrapped in false affection. He dressed carefully in his best suit, the armor of a man preparing for battle. Before leaving, he called Rosa. "Do not come to the office today. Stay home with your sister. If this goes wrong, I do not want you anywhere near the fallout." "Vincent, what are you planning?" "Justice, or the closest thing to it that I can manage." "Rosa, thank you for giving me the chance to see the truth before it was too late. Whatever happens today, you saved me from a fate worse than losing money. You saved me from living the rest of my life as a fool." He arrived at Carver Industries at 9:30. The morning sun glinted off the glass building that bore his name. For 15 years, this had been his kingdom, built with sweat and vision and relentless determination. Trevor had been part of that building process, or so Vincent had believed. Now he understood that Trevor had been building something else entirely, a trap disguised as a partnership. The receptionist smiled brightly. "Good morning, Mr. Carver. Everyone is already in the main conference room waiting for you." Vincent nodded and walked toward the elevator, carrying a leather folder that contained copies of every piece of evidence Rosa had gathered. Today the truth would come out. Today the masks would fall away. And today Vincent Carver would discover whether justice existed for people like Rosa Martinez who dared to speak truth to power. The elevator doors opened on the 42nd floor. Vincent stepped out, ready to face his betrayer. Vincent walked down the corridor toward the main conference room with measured steps. Through the glass walls, he could see them all waiting. Trevor stood near the windows, laughing at something James Park had said. Natalie sat in one of the guest chairs, her elegant blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, checking her phone with a satisfied smile. Several Sterling Holdings executives occupied the other seats, along with 2 lawyers who had flown in specifically for the signing. They all looked so confident, so certain of their victory. Vincent pushed open the door. Everyone turned to greet him with professional smiles and handshakes. Trevor approached first, his expression warm and brotherly. "There he is. Ready to make history together?" Trevor extended his hand. Vincent looked at that hand, remembering all the times they had shaken on deals, on promises, on dreams they claimed to share. He did not take it. "Actually, I need to discuss something before we proceed." Vincent moved to the head of the table and set down his leather folder. "Something that came to my attention yesterday." Trevor's smile faltered slightly. "Vincent, we have been over every detail multiple times. What could possibly need more discussion?" "The truth," Vincent said simply. He opened the folder and began laying out documents across the conference table. Photos of the altered contracts, bank transfer records, printed transcripts of the recorded conversations. The room fell silent. James Park leaned forward to examine the papers, his face draining of color. The lawyers exchanged worried glances. Natalie stood abruptly, her phone clattering to the floor. Trevor stared at the evidence, his expression shifting through shock, confusion, and finally settling into cold calculation. "What is this?" he asked, his voice tight. "This is proof that you have been planning to defraud me for months, that you and Natalie have been conspiring to strip me of my own company through falsified merger documents." Vincent's voice remained calm, almost detached. "This is evidence of embezzlement, corporate fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty." "Vincent, listen to me," Trevor started, his hands raised in a placating gesture. "I do not know where you got this information, but someone is lying to you. Someone is trying to destroy our partnership. Stop!" Vincent cut him off sharply. "I have your voice on recordings. I have your signature on transfer documents. I have emails you thought were deleted. The only person who destroyed our partnership is you." Natalie moved toward the door, but Vincent gestured and 2 security guards entered, blocking the exit. He had planned this carefully. "Nobody leaves until we finish this conversation," Vincent said. "James, I assume Sterling Holdings had no knowledge of this fraud?" James Park stood, his face grave. "Mr. Carver, I assure you our company would never knowingly participate in such activities. If Mr. Bennett misrepresented the terms of this merger to us, we will cooperate fully with any investigation." "How convenient," Trevor sneered, his friendly mask finally cracking completely. "You were happy enough to benefit from the arrangement when you thought it would succeed?" "I have recordings of my conversations with you that prove otherwise," James replied coldly. "You told me Vincent was fully aware of all terms and had agreed to the control structure." "You lied to everyone involved." Vincent watched his former friend, seeing him clearly for perhaps the first time. The charm, the loyalty, the brotherhood had all been performance. Beneath it lay only greed and calculated manipulation. "Why?" Vincent asked quietly. "We were successful. The company was growing. You were making millions. Why was that not enough?" Trevor laughed bitterly. "Because it was always your company, Vincent. Your name on the building, your vision everyone followed, your decisions that mattered. I was always just the partner, the sidekick, the person standing in your shadow. So you decided to take everything rather than build something of your own? I decided to take what I earned by standing beside you for 15 years while you got all the credit." Trevor's composure shattered completely. Do you know what it feels like to work just as hard but be invisible? To watch you get praised while I am just mentioned as your capable partner? You could have left, started your own company. Instead, you chose theft and betrayal. Natalie finally spoke, her voice sharp with defiance. You were always so self-righteous, Vincent. So moral and upstanding. It made you easy to manipulate. Trevor and I laughed about how simple it was to deceive you. Vincent felt the words like physical blows, but he kept his expression neutral. How long were you two together before you ended our engagement? 8 months, Natalie said with cruel satisfaction. Every time you worked late, every business trip you took, we were together. You never suspected because you trusted so completely. That trust made you weak. No, a new voice said from the doorway. That trust made him human. Everyone turned. Rosa stood at the entrance, still wearing her cleaning uniform, but holding herself with quiet dignity. Vincent had not expected her to come, but her presence steadied something inside him. Who is this? Trevor demanded. This is Rosa Martinez, the woman who saved me from your trap, the person whose courage exposed your conspiracy. Vincent gestured for her to enter. Rosa has more integrity in her position as cleaning staff than you two have ever possessed in your entire lives. Trevor's eyes widened with recognition. The cleaning woman. You are taking the word of the cleaning woman over mine? Over 15 years of friendship? She brought me evidence. You brought me lies disguised as friendship. Vincent turned to the security guards. Please escort Mr. Bennett and Ms. Winters out of the building. They are no longer welcome on these premises. The lawyers can discuss the criminal charges that will be filed. You cannot do this, Trevor shouted as the guards approached. I built this company too. Half of everything here exists because of my work. And you will receive exactly what you are entitled to under our partnership agreement, minus the $3 million you embezzled, minus damages for fraud, minus your legal fees when you are prosecuted. Vincent's voice remained steady. I am not like you, Trevor. I will not cheat you out of what is legitimately yours, but I will ensure you face consequences for your crimes. As the guards led Trevor and Natalie away, their protests echoing down the hallway, Vincent turned to James Park. I apologize that you traveled here for nothing. Obviously, this merger cannot proceed. James nodded understandingly. I appreciate your integrity in handling this situation, Mr. Carver. If you decide to pursue acquisition opportunities in the future, Sterling Holdings would be interested in discussions. Legitimate discussions based on honest terms. After the Sterling executives departed, Vincent found himself alone in the conference room with Rosa. She stood near the windows, looking out at the city below. You should not have come, Vincent said gently. I told you to stay home. I know, but I wanted to see how it ended. I needed to witness that sometimes telling the truth actually matters. Vincent walked over to stand beside her. It matters because of you. Without your courage, I would have signed away everything today. I would be ruined and never even known why. You gave me something too, Rosa said softly. You believed me when nobody else would have. Do you know how rare that is? A wealthy executive actually listening to the cleaning woman. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, both processing the magnitude of what had just occurred. Rosa, I meant what I said before. When this is over, I want to offer you a real position here. Your skills are wasted in cleaning. We need people with financial expertise who also possess integrity. Rosa turned to look at him, hope and disbelief mixing in her expression. Vincent, I appreciate that, but I was fired from my last position under accusations of misconduct. My reputation in the business world is destroyed. Then we rebuild it together. I will personally vouch for your character. Besides, you just saved $1 billion company from fraud. I would say that demonstrates pretty clearly which side of ethics you stand on. Tears filled Rosa's eyes. My sister Carla, she needs ongoing treatment. The position would need to provide health insurance, full benefits, competitive salary, and a signing bonus to cover any immediate medical expenses your sister needs. Vincent smiled, feeling something like hope returning after the darkness of betrayal. Consider it compensation for the consulting work you have already done. Rosa wiped her eyes, laughing through tears. I feel like I am dreaming. Yesterday I was scrubbing toilets. Today I am being offered an executive position. Yesterday you were already extraordinary. Today the world just finally sees it. Over the following weeks, Vincent worked with prosecutors to build cases against Trevor and Natalie. The evidence Rosa had gathered proved crucial. Trevor faced charges of embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. Natalie was charged as an accessory. Both accepted plea deals that included restitution, probation, and permanent bans from serving as corporate officers. Rosa began her new role as Director of Financial Oversight, a position Vincent created specifically to prevent the kind of fraud Trevor had attempted. Her first initiative was implementing transparency protocols and whistleblower protections. She wanted to ensure that anyone who witnessed wrongdoing would have safe channels to report it. Vincent found himself watching Rosa work with growing admiration. Her intelligence had been obvious from the start, but he also discovered her compassion, her dedication, her ability to lead teams while valuing every person's contribution. She transformed the finance department's culture, treating junior staff with the same respect she showed senior executives. 3 months after the confrontation, Vincent invited Rosa to dinner at a quiet restaurant overlooking the lake. It was ostensibly to discuss quarterly financial reports, but both of them knew it had become something more. "I have been thinking," Vincent said as they finished dessert, "about trust and betrayal, about who people really are beneath the roles they play." "Heavy thoughts for a Wednesday evening," Rosa replied with a gentle smile. "Trevor taught me that trust without discernment is dangerous. But you taught me something more important, that real integrity exists, that courage can come from unexpected places, that the people we overlook might be the ones worth knowing most." Rosa set down her fork, her expression serious. "Vincent, I need you to understand something. I did not help you expecting anything in return. Not a job, not gratitude, certainly not anything personal. I know. That is exactly why what I feel for you is real." Vincent reached across the table, his hand open in invitation rather than demand. "I am not asking for anything right now. I just want you to know that when I look at you, I see someone extraordinary. Someone brave and brilliant and genuine. Someone I want to know better if you are willing." Rosa looked at his hand for a long moment before placing hers in it. "I spent 2 years believing I would never be seen as anything more than my failures. You see me as I hope to be seen, as who I actually am? Then let me keep seeing you. No pressure, no expectations. Just 2 people who found each other in the middle of chaos and might have something worth exploring." Rosa smiled, her eyes bright with possibility. "I would like that very much." Outside the restaurant windows, Chicago glittered with 10,000 lights. Inside, 2 people who had saved each other in different ways sat together, holding hands across a table, building something new from the ruins of betrayal. Carla's lupus treatment continued successfully with the comprehensive health coverage Rosa's new position provided. Rosa and Vincent supported several scholarships for promising students from disadvantaged backgrounds, wanting to ensure that talent was not wasted due to circumstance. Trevor served 18 months in prison and disappeared from the business world entirely. Natalie moved to Europe, her reputation destroyed. Neither ever apologized or acknowledged the damage they had caused. But Vincent found he could think about them without bitterness. Their betrayal had nearly destroyed him, but it had also led him to Rosa, to understanding what real integrity looked like, to building a company culture based on genuine respect rather than hierarchy and exploitation. A year after that first confrontation, Vincent and Rosa stood together at a company event celebrating Carver Industries being named one of the most ethical corporations in the country. Rosa had been instrumental in that achievement, transforming every department she touched. "Are you happy?" Vincent asked quietly as they watched employees celebrating. Rosa leaned against his shoulder, comfortable with the intimacy they had slowly built. "Happier than I imagined possible when I was pushing that cleaning cart and deciding whether to speak up." "You changed my life, Vincent?" "No," he corrected gently. "You changed both our lives when you chose courage over safety. I just had the wisdom to listen." She looked up at him, love evident in her eyes. "Then we saved each other." "Yes," Vincent agreed, pulling her close. "We did." The party continued around them, but in that moment they existed in their own space. 2 people who had faced betrayal and emerged stronger. who had risked everything for truth and found not just vindication, but something far more valuable. They had found each other, and in doing so, discovered that integrity and courage create connections deeper than any built on deception ever could. The city lights sparkled beyond the windows, full of promise and possibility. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, Vincent Carver looked toward the future with genuine hope, knowing that beside him stood a partner who would always choose truth over convenience, courage over comfort, and love built on respect rather than manipulation. Their story was not about a warning that changed everything. It was about two people who refused to let betrayal define them, who chose to see the best in each other when the world had shown them the worst, and who built something beautiful from the rubble of broken trust. And that made all the difference. The end.